Hello and welcome to another short tutorial video of Fusion 360. Today we're going to be looking a bit deeper into the sketching environment and looking at constraints. So the first thing I want to do is create a sketch. So I'm going to create a sketch on the XY plane. If I create a sketch of a square out here in the open, you'll notice that it's blue by just clicking two positions, and there's no dimensions on this sketch as of yet. If I left click and hold, we can see that we can modify this sketch very easily and dangerously. So we need to constrain this sketch. So I'm going to select to create dimension, or the dimension tool, and I'm going to stick dimensions on this rectangle. So we're going to go 100 by 50. So now we can see everything is still blue, meaning it's not constrained yet. But if I left click and hold now, the actual square will move, or the rectangle will move, but the dimensions won't move. So I can't actually move these lines, but the whole box will move, meaning we need to constrain that. In order for us to constrain it, we need to reference it to the 0, 0 position. So again, I'm going to select two more dimensions, go 50 and 50, and now we can see we have a fully constrained sketch. We know it's fully constrained because the whole thing is black. If I open the sketch folder, we can see that there's a lock symbol on the sketch, meaning it's a fully constrained sketch. As soon as I remove one of these dimensions, it becomes a pencil again, meaning it's not fully constrained, and we can see the blue lines, meaning if I left click, we can move it up and down, but not left to right. So again, I'll fully constrain that by making sure it's referenced to 0. So a quicker way to draw a rectangle and have it constrained fast is using, instead of creating a rectangle out in any space, we'll snap to 0, 0. I'll put in 100 by 50. And there we have a fully constrained sketch. Because we've used the 0, 0 position, we don't need to reference them to 0, 0. Another thing we'll notice is these icons that are around our sketch. These will correspond with our constraints. So you'll see our constraints in the ribbon bar. They look like the horizontal and vertical constraints, so that's what they are. So these would be our horizontal and these would be vertical. So if I was to just sketch a quick line, we can see that this line is crooked. If we need to make sure that this was horizontal or vertical, we'll select our constraint and we'll snap on the line. This will bring it to the closest, so this will obviously go vertical. And we can see now that that line has a vertical constraint on it, meaning if I move this line, it's always going to go vertical. To delete a constraint, I left click on it, and I can press the delete button. And now you can see I can actually move this again. Again, to stick a constraint on it, we can do it that way. When your sketches get overwhelmed with different sketches and lines and squares and circles, it can be overpowering looking at all the different constraints. What to do in that situation is go use our sketch palette. We can hide or show constraints by taking this off, and we can see now all the constraints have disappeared on screen, but they're still there. Same as dimensions, again we can turn on and off the dimensions from our sketch palette. When we're finished with our sketch, we will click on the finish sketch icon. If we want to go back to modify that sketch, we can right click and edit sketch from the browser, or we can go down to the timeline and edit sketch. Other constraints that are very useful, we've got tangency. So if I was to draw a circle up here, 50 mil, and I want to constrain this circle to have a tangency on this, we can see that that circle will always be tangent to that line. If I draw another circle over here, another nice constraint is the equal constraint. So I can go, this is going to be equal to this. So if I do update this to 40, this will follow suit. Another nice constraint is concentric. So again, if I use this to this, bad example, let's go to a smaller one, go concentric, this one to this. we can see that that circle will always be concentric to this circle. Another nice constraint that is commonly used. If I sketch another rectangle over here of 30 and 50, I can use the symmetry. So if I wanted this square or rectangle always to be symmetrical to this line, we can use the symmetry constraint. So now you can see that this will always be symmetrical to this line, no matter what that dimension will be. We can use the midpoint constraint. So if I want to go midpoint for, let's draw a circle over here, midpoint this circle to this line, that's always going to sit in the midpoint no matter how big this goes. Another nice constraint is the collinear. So again, if I create a rectangle, I go collinear this line to this line, this will always be collinear to this. And again, there's other nice constraints there to use. The ones I've shown you today are the ones that you commonly use in order to fully constrain your sketch. And to make sure a sketch is fully constrained, make sure we have the lock symbol on this. The danger of not having a lock symbol on this is that it can be easily modified without you knowing. It could move 0.1 or 0.2 or 1 or 2 mil, depending on what you're doing. You could go into the sketch and you could just drag one of these by accident and that moves your sketch. When everything is fully constrained, you can't actually move it. You'd have to go out of your way to modify the position or the dimension of a fully constrained sketch. And that concludes our sketching environment. Thank you.